the Bitcoin and the e-money is one aspect. One is anonymous and one will be trackable by the central banks. The whole evolution of tokens, the NFTs, and a lot of these really interesting alternative coins is based on the following, which is we've now seen the new dimension of utility introduced to these tokens. What that means is it has a monetary value, but it'll have some other sort of service dynamic. That service dynamic can be storage, it can be processing power, it can be whatever it is that you can dream of. And the beauty of that whole world is you can make those tokens, that whole phenomena programmable. So you can now have money and things that are financially related that are programmatically integrated into the financial systems, and it allows for a whole new generation of potential applications. So, very different. Bitcoin is in its own little bubble, if you will.
Right. Just one thought on tokens, because the latest to gain some sort of media presence was Tom Brady and his team that are going to tokenize autographs. So, is there any limit to this? I mean, and who gets to decide what the value of all this is? Right?
Well, there really is no limit. Any asset on planet Earth can be tokenized. Anything can. Any asset or service, if there's no restriction. And in terms of the answer to your question about price discovery, it's a good question, because right now, we have to be careful about people getting taken advantage of. And, that's when the regulators step in. It's going to be a tough one. Very tough to regulate.
And as usual, Boom and Bust does not offer investment advice, so I want to make that point clear as well. Dan, Mark, any thoughts on our conversation on this? Dan?
Well, look, for me being a math and computer science geek, I just find the whole thing that we're living fascinating, right? Where suddenly money is truly a computer science object with a deep level of sophistication. But what I find very interesting is I think it's very hard to predict where this will go, because we're just starting.
Yeah.
Like Bitcoin was the first one that put all of these things together and truly made it available. But it's probably not the right technology in the long term. It's not the most advanced one.
Yeah.
It's the most expensive one. Computationally, it's inefficient. It's slow. But in the last 10 years, after Bitcoin has come out, there's some great advances in various methodologies, in new currencies. There's labs all over the place doing it. So I'm pretty excited to see where this ends up. But I think it's going to be, so it's here to stay for sure. The question is which technology and how it all will fit, and how will the governments get comfortable doing this in an efficient way. And Ray raised one quick point, which is how do you protect all the retail investors and all of us who will use it.
Yeah.
And it's but I find it just fascinating, because the way our kids and grandchildren will think of money will be completely different than we did.
Now, Mark Morissette, although you've been prepping to weigh in on this, I'm going to ask you a separate question, if you don't mind. And just bringing it back to something that people can relate to. What's it like building your company in Canada? What are some of the challenges and opportunities?
Oh, wow. It's, you know what, like Dan, I've been building these trading platforms, value props and product in my entire career, spanning a couple decades, even pre-liquidity crisis with ING Direct. The biggest difference is for distribution strategists like myself. 15 years ago, we didn't have the architecture nor the data science to basically trade our proposition across a myriad of different distribution channels. It was mostly done telephony and contact center. 15 years later, we finally have all the different microservice data-enabled architecture to engineer a really interesting, innovative product, and then empower agnostic to distribution channel, whether it's SaaSing it out to white label alliances or straight to the consumer. That basement business that's an Etsy craft shop representing their own interests can access the same treaty price and value proposition as a large B2B program. So it's essentially exactly what when we use these cliches around democratizing the small business owner or the customer, and it's true. we have that ability to do that. And then it transcends borders because we're servicing a full cross-border solution. I always use the example, a locksmith in Erie, Pennsylvania is a locksmith in Sudbury, Ontario.